You know that feeling when you finally decide to skip the cheap Just Works generator you saw on a clearance shelf, only to realize a few weeks later the thing sputters out the moment you need it for a backyard party or an emergency? I've been there, standing in the middle of a half-dark patio, trying to keep a mini fridge humming while the cheap unit coughs and dies. That hesitation whether to gamble on a budget model or to invest a little more in something that won't leave you stranded has been the driving question behind today's review. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking at portable inverter generators, I kept circling back to three core concerns: fuel efficiency, noise level, and how well the unit handles the kind of mixed load most homeowners actually use. Think a TV, a laptop, a few lights, maybe a power tool for a weekend project. The Honda EU3000iS landed on my radar because it promises a quiet, fuel-sipping operation while still delivering enough juice to run a typical home office setup plus a few extra appliances. The real test, though, isn't the headline 3,000-watt figure, it's whether the generator stays steady when you plug a refrigerator and a power drill in at the same time, and whether it does that without draining the tank before you've even gotten past the first hour. First off, let's talk about the kind of person who will actually benefit from this machine. If you're someone who camps a lot, runs a small business out of a trailer, or lives in an area where power outages are more than an on-scene inconvenience, the EU3000iS is worth a serious look. Its inverter technology means the power it produces is clean and stable, which is a big deal if you're feeding sensitive electronics like a laptop or a medical device. The built-in CO minder sensor also adds a safety layer. It automatically shuts the engine down if carbon monoxide levels climb, a feature you rarely see on cheaper models. For a homeowner who wants a backup that can keep a few essential circuits alive, say the freezer, a few lights, and a Wi-Fi router, this generator hits the sweet spot between portability and capacity. On the flip side, if your primary need is a one-time, low-budget solution for occasional lawn mower use, you'll probably find this unit overkill. The price point sits comfortably above the entry-level crowd, and the weight, while still manageable for a two-person lift, is heavier than the 2,000-watt models you see in the $400 range. That extra heft translates into a bigger fuel tank and longer runtime, but if you're only ever planning to run a single small tool for a few minutes, the extra capacity ends up feeling like paying for a sedan when you only need a compact car. Now, the practical strengths. The first thing I noticed after unboxing, yes, the packaging feels solid, but I'm not going to turn that into a spec sheet, is how quickly the engine settles. Within a minute of starting, the sound level drops to around 53 decibels, about the noise of a normal conversation. That's a game changer if you're using it in a residential neighborhood or a campsite where you don't want to wake the whole block. The runtime at half load is impressive. The 6.6-gallon tank can keep the generator humming for roughly 20 hours before you need to refuel. That endurance means you could, for example, keep a small home office powered through an entire night during a storm without a pit stop. Another strength is the ease of hooking up multiple devices. The EU3000iS comes with both standard 120-volt outlets and a 12-volt DC outlet, plus a USB port for charging phones directly. In practice, I ran a small fridge, a couple of LED lights, my laptop, and a router all at once and never saw the voltage dip. The inverter design smooths out the power, preventing the flicker that cheap generators sometimes cause, which can be a nightmare for sensitive electronics. There are a few practical weaknesses that are worth flagging before you pull the trigger. First, the initial startup can be a little finicky if you're not used to pulling a recoil starter on a generator of this size. The pull cord has a solid feel, but it does require a firm, consistent motion, nothing like the click-and-go start you find on electric-only models. Second, while the noise level is low for a gasoline engine, it's not silent. If you're looking for an ultra-quiet solution for a backyard yoga session, you'll still hear a faint hum in the background. Lastly, the fuel gauge is a simple analog needle, which can be less precise than digital readouts. You'll get a ballpark idea of how much fuel is left, but it's not exact, so you need to keep an eye on it during long runs. Putting all of this together, the value proposition of the Honda EU3000iS comes from its balance of reliable power, fuel efficiency, and safety features, rather than just the raw wattage. For anyone who's serious about having a dependable backup, whether that means keeping a home office alive,